Picture this, it's past midnight on a Tuesday. You finally crawled into bed after a long day, pulled the covers up, closed your eyes, and just as sleep starts to take hold, boom, the bass from next door kicks in, again. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if tonight will be the night you finally lose it. You've tried ignoring it, you've tried the pillow over the head trick, you've even considered moving. But deep down, you know something's gotta give. If that sounds painfully familiar, you're not alone. Noise complaints are one of the top reasons people call their landlords, their HOAs, even the police. But here's what nobody tells you. You don't have to suffer in silence, and you don't have to turn into the neighborhood villain to get peace. There's a smart, legal, step-by-step way to handle this, and by the end of this guide, you'll know exactly what to do, whether your neighbor is blasting music at 3 a.m., renovating on Sunday mornings, or hosting parties that shake your walls. Stick with me because I'm going to walk you through the whole process, from that first awkward knock on the door to the moment you might need to involve lawyers or courts. And trust me, most of the time, it never gets that far. Most of the time, a little knowledge and a calm approach are all you need. Let's start with the truth. You have rights. First things first, living in an apartment, condo, or townhouse doesn't mean you signed away your right to peace and quiet. In fact, your lease probably includes something called quiet enjoyment, a legal term that means you have the right to live in your home without unreasonable disturbances. Your landlord, your HOA, even your local city government, they all recognize that excessive noise isn't just annoying, it's a violation of your rights. But here's the thing, most people don't know how to use those rights. They suffer for months, lose sleep, develop stress-related health problems, and eventually either move out or explode in frustration. That's not the way. The way forward is calm, strategic, and surprisingly effective if you know the steps. Step 1. The friendly knock. Yes, really. I know what you're thinking. Why should I be nice to someone who's making my life miserable? Fair question, but here's why starting with a friendly conversation is the smartest move you can make. Most people genuinely don't realize they're being too loud. Let me tell you a quick story. A couple of years ago, I had a neighbor who played guitar at night. Not maliciously, just he was practicing, and he had no idea the sound carried right through our shared wall. I spent 2 weeks fuming, imagining all the angry things I'd say, until finally, one evening, I knocked on his door. I was polite, introduced myself, explained that I could hear everything, and asked if he could practice a bit earlier in the day. You know what happened? He apologized, said he had no idea, and shifted his practice time. Problem solved. No drama, no cops, no hard feelings. That's the power of a simple conversation. Most neighbors aren't trying to ruin your life. They're just living theirs, unaware of the impact. So before you do anything else, take a breath, walk over, and talk like a human being. Use I statements. I've been having trouble sleeping because of the noise after 11 works way better than you're way too loud. Keep it calm, keep it friendly, and give them a chance to fix it. Now, will this work every time? Of course not. Some people are jerks. Some people don't care. But you'd be surprised how often this simple step resolves everything. And even if it doesn't, you've now established that you tried the reasonable route, which matters if you need to escalate later. But what if the conversation goes nowhere? Okay, so you knocked, you talked, maybe they even said they'd keep it down, and then nothing changed. Or worse, they got defensive, told you to deal with it, maybe even slammed the door in your face. Now what? This is where you shift from friendly neighbor to strategic problem solver. And the first thing you need to do is start documenting everything. I'm serious. Grab a notebook, open a notes app on your phone, whatever works for you, and start keeping a log. Every time there's a disturbance, write down the date, the time, what kind of noise it was, and how long it lasted. Friday, November 22nd, 11:45 p.m. to 2:15 a.m. Loud music, bass vibrating walls. Simple, factual, no emotion. Just the facts. Why does this matter? Because if you end up filing a complaint with your landlord, your HOA, the police, or even a court, this log becomes evidence. It shows a pattern. It proves you're not exaggerating. It transforms "they're annoying" into "here are 17 documented instances in the last month." Also, if you can, make recordings. Pull out your phone and record the noise. You're not spying, you're documenting a disturbance in your own home, which is perfectly legal. Video works even better if you can show the timestamp and the volume level. All of this builds your case. And here's a pro tip. Talk to other neighbors. Chances are you're not the only one losing sleep. If you can get 2 or 3 other people to document the same problem, your complaint becomes a lot harder to ignore. There's power in numbers. Step 2. Take it to management. All right, you've got your evidence, you've tried talking, now it's time to make it official. If you're renting, your first stop is your landlord or property manager. If you're in a condo or HOA, it's your building manager or the board. Write them a formal email or letter. Be polite but firm. Lay out the facts, when the noise started, how often it happens, what you've tried, and what you're asking them to do about it. Attach your documentation, your log, your recordings, statements from other neighbors if you have them. Most leases include clauses about noise and disturbing other tenants. Your landlord has a legal obligation to enforce those rules. They can issue a warning, send a formal notice, even start eviction proceedings if the problem continues. The key here is to put everything in writing. Verbal complaints are easy to forget or dismiss. Written complaints create a paper trail. Now, will your landlord act immediately? Not always. Some property managers are great, some are useless. But even if they don't solve the problem right away, you've now created an official record that this is happening and that you've reported it. That record becomes important if you need to break your lease without penalty or if you eventually take legal action. If you're in an HOA or condo, check your community bylaws. Most HOAs have specific quiet hours and noise rules. Submit a formal complaint referencing those rules. The HOA can find repeat offenders, and those fines can add up fast, which tends to get people's attention. Step 3. Know the law, because it's on your side. Here's something most people don't realize. Almost every city and county in the United States has noise ordinances. These are local laws that set specific limits on how much noise is acceptable and when. Typically, these ordinances define quiet hours, usually from 10 or 11 p.m. until 6 or 7 a.m. During those hours, excessive noise is illegal, not just annoying, actually illegal. And even during the day, there are limits. Construction noise, loud music, barking dogs, all of it is regulated. You can find your local noise ordinance with a quick Google search. Just type "your city" plus "noise ordinance" and you'll find the rules. Read them. Know what's allowed and what isn't. This knowledge gives you power. Why does this matter? Because when you file a complaint with your landlord, with the police, with anyone, you can now reference the actual law. According to City Code section whatever, noise exceeding 45 decibels after 11 p.m. is prohibited. Here's my evidence that my neighbor is violating this law. That's a lot more convincing than "it's too loud and I don't like it." Step 4. When to call the police and how to do it right. Okay, let's talk about calling the cops. This is a big step, and it's not one you should take lightly, but sometimes it's necessary. Here's when it makes sense to call. If the noise is happening right now, during quiet hours, and all your other attempts have failed. If there's a wild party at 2 a.m. and you've already complained to management multiple times with no result. If the situation feels unsafe or out of control. But here's the key. Do not call 911 unless there's an actual emergency, like violence, a threat, or something dangerous. For noise complaints, call the non-emergency police line. Every city has one. Look it up and save the number in your phone. When you call, be calm and factual. I'm calling to report a noise disturbance. My neighbors at address have been playing loud music since midnight, and it's now past 2 a.m. I've tried talking to them, and I filed complaints with management, but nothing has changed. Can you send an officer to address this? What happens next? An officer will come, knock on the door, and tell your neighbors to keep it down. They might issue a warning. If this is a repeat call, they might issue a citation or ticket. In extreme cases, repeated violations can lead to fines, court appearances, even arrest. But be aware, calling the police can permanently damage your relationship with your neighbor. Use this option when you've exhausted other avenues or when the situation is truly disruptive or unsafe. Also, always get the report number or case number when the police respond. That documentation can be crucial if you need to take further legal action. Step 5. Mediation, the underrated solution. Here's something a lot of people don't know. Many cities and counties offer free or low-cost mediation services for neighbor disputes. Mediation brings you and your neighbor together with a neutral third party, a trained mediator, who helps you find a solution both sides can live with. Why does this work? Because it gets you out of the adversarial mindset. Instead of you versus them, it becomes let's solve this together. Mediators are skilled at finding compromises. Maybe your neighbor agrees to keep the music down after 10 and you agree to be more flexible on weekends. Maybe they didn't realize your work schedule and now they do. Mediation is also looked upon favorably by courts. If you ever do end up in court, judges like to see that you tried mediation first. It shows you're reasonable, that you genuinely tried to work things out. Check with your city or county government to see if they offer this service. It's often free and it can save you months of stress and thousands of dollars in legal fees. Step 6. Legal action when all else fails. All right, let's say you've done everything. You talked, you documented, you complained to management, you called the police, you tried mediation, and nothing worked. The noise continues, your sleep is wrecked, your health is suffering, and you're at your wit's end. This is when you consider legal action. You have a few options. The most common is filing a lawsuit in small claims court for nuisance or violation of quiet enjoyment. You can sue for damages, compensation for your suffering, medical bills if the stress caused health problems, even the cost of temporary housing if you had to stay elsewhere to get sleep. In most states, small claims court handles cases up to $5,000, $10,000, or even more depending on where you live. You don't need a lawyer for small claims, though you can hire one if you want. You file a claim, present your evidence, your logs, recordings, witness statements, police reports, and the judge makes a decision. You can also request an injunction, which is a court order requiring your neighbor to stop the noise. Violating an injunction can result in serious penalties, including jail time in extreme cases. If your landlord has failed to act despite repeated complaints, you might also have a case against them for failing to provide quiet enjoyment. In some situations, this can even allow you to break your lease without penalty. Legal action is time-consuming, sometimes expensive, and emotionally draining. But it works. Courts take these cases seriously, especially when you have solid evidence and have clearly tried to resolve things peacefully first. Step 7. What not to do. Seriously, don't. I get it. When you're exhausted, frustrated, and furious, the temptation to fight fire with fire is real. But here's the truth. Retaliating almost always makes things worse. Don't blast music back at them. Don't damage their property. Don't leave threatening notes. Don't confront them aggressively. Don't do anything that could get you in legal trouble, because then you go from victim to defendant. I've seen people lose court cases, get evicted, even get arrested because they lost their cool and did something stupid. Don't be that person. Take the high road, document everything, and let the system work for you. Step 8. Take care of yourself. Living with constant noise isn't just annoying, it's a health hazard. Chronic sleep deprivation leads to anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, weakened immune systems, and more. If this has been going on for a while, see your doctor. Document the health impact. Get it on record. Also, consider practical solutions while you're fighting the legal battle. White noise machines, earplugs, noise-canceling headphones, these won't solve the root problem, but they might help you get through the night while you work on a permanent solution. And don't isolate yourself. Talk to friends, family, other neighbors. Share what you're going through. You need support and you deserve it. The bottom line, you deserve peace. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. You are not powerless. You have rights, you have options, and you have the law on your side. The process might take time, it might require patience and persistence, but it works. Start with kindness, move to documentation, use the tools available to you: management, police, mediation, courts. Stay calm, stay smart, and stay within the law. And remember, you're not being difficult, you're not being petty. You're standing up for your right to live peacefully in your own home. So here's my question for you. Have you ever dealt with a noisy neighbor? What worked? What didn't? Drop your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear tonight. And if this helped you, share it with someone who's struggling. Knowledge is power, and together we can make our communities quieter, kinder, and more respectful. Thanks for sticking with me. Sleep well and take care.